The morning sun rose over New York like any other day, but humanity's place in the universe was about to change forever. Military radar stations worldwide suddenly lit up with warnings as massive objects appeared just beyond the moon's orbit. Captain Tom Anderson stood in the Pentagon's command center, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of dozens of screens. 20 years in the military hadn't prepared him for this moment. The objects, clearly ships of some kind, hung in space like dark clouds promising a storm. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," a young operator called out, his voice shaking slightly. "They're using perfect English." The message that played through the speakers was calm and measured, but its content sent chills through everyone present. "People of Earth, we are the Dominion, a coalition of advanced species that govern this sector of space. Your civilization has been monitored since you first split the atom. The time has come for your integration into our society." Anderson watched as generals and politicians around him shifted uncomfortably. The alien voice continued, "Your technological development is insufficient for true independence. You will be assigned a protectorate status. We require 30% of your world's resources as tribute. You have 30 Earth days to prepare for our arrival and submit to our authority." The room erupted into chaos, but Anderson's mind was already racing ahead. He'd studied every war in human history, and one thing was clear: underestimating your opponent was always a fatal mistake. These aliens, despite their advanced technology, were making that exact error. In the days that followed, Anderson found himself leading a hastily assembled special operations team. Their mission was simple but seemingly impossible: capture an alien scout ship that had entered Earth's atmosphere to map strategic locations. "They think we're primitive," Anderson told his team as they gathered in a hidden bunker. "That's their first mistake. They expect us to either surrender or fight conventionally. That's their second mistake." His team of 5 was chosen for their unconventional thinking. Mike Turner, a former car thief turned military specialist. Linda West, an expert in electromagnetic warfare. Robert "Doc" Wilson, a battlefield medic who could hack any system. Paul Cooper and Sam Reed, both former Special Forces operators who specialized in improvised warfare. They tracked the scout ship to a remote area in the Rocky Mountains. The alien vessel, sleek and silver, hovered silently above a valley, scanning the ground below. Anderson's team had developed a plan that would seem ridiculous to their advanced enemies. "Remember," Anderson whispered as they got into position, "they rely on advanced sensors. They're not looking for things they consider primitive." While the aliens scanned for energy signatures and advanced weapons, Anderson's team used simple pulleys and camouflage nets to position themselves. Their weapons were modified to avoid electronic signatures. Even their communications were done through hand signals and prearranged light flashes. The trap was beautiful in its simplicity. The team used mirrors to reflect sunlight directly at the ship's optical sensors, something so basic it wasn't even in the alien ship's threat detection protocols. In the crucial moments of confusion, they launched grappling hooks, technology thousands of years old, to secure the ship. Linda activated a crude but effective electromagnetic pulse device they'd built from old microwave parts. The alien ship's shields, designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, didn't activate for what they perceived as harmless radiation. The ship dropped 3 meters before its backup systems engaged, but that was all they needed. Anderson's team was already on board through the emergency access hatch, their entrance aided by Doc's understanding of universal engineering principles. Inside, they found 2 shocked alien crew members who never expected primitives to breach their vessel. The aliens' combat training was clearly designed for high-tech warfare. They were unprepared for humans simply tackling them to the ground. "Send the signal," Anderson ordered as they secured the ship. "Let command know Phase 1 is complete." As he looked at the advanced technology around him, Anderson smiled grimly. The aliens would learn soon enough. Humans had been practicing the art of war since they first picked up sticks and stones. Technology wasn't everything. Sometimes, the old ways were the best ways. The real war hadn't even begun, but humanity had just won its first battle. And they did it not with advanced weapons, but with mirrors, ropes, and the one thing the Dominion hadn't counted on: human ingenuity. The captured alien scout ship proved to be a gold mine of information. Within the ship's database, Captain Anderson's team found detailed plans of the Dominion's invasion strategy. It was impressive, thorough, and completely predictable. "Look at this," Linda West said, pointing to holographic battle plans floating above the ship's control panel. "They expect us to either mass our forces in major cities or try to fight them head-on. They've never even considered that we might do something different." Anderson studied the plans carefully. The Dominion's invasion force would arrive in exactly 20 days. Their ships would position themselves above Earth's 100 largest cities, expecting either surrender or a direct military response. Their strategy was based on crushing any resistance with overwhelming force. "Time to show them how humans fight," Anderson said, reaching for the secure communication line to military command. "When you can't match your enemy's strength, you change the rules of the game." Over the next 2 weeks, the world's militaries worked together in secret while publicly appearing to prepare for surrender. Cities were quietly evacuated under the cover of celebration parades welcoming their new alien overlords. Military bases appeared to be preparing for a peaceful transition, while actually emptying their weapons and personnel into thousands of hidden locations. The Dominion watched from orbit, their scans showing exactly what they expected: a primitive species accepting its fate. They didn't notice the subtle signs. They didn't understand why humans were suddenly buying millions of low-tech radio sets, or why there was a sudden shortage of basic materials like copper wire and fertilizer. Anderson's team worked around the clock, teaching other military units what they'd learned about Dominion technology. "Their weakness is their strength," he explained to a room full of commanders. "They rely completely on advanced technology. They don't even consider the possibility of someone fighting without it." The team discovered that the Dominion's shields were useless against certain primitive weapons. Their targeting systems could be fooled by simple tricks the humans had used since World War I. Their communication networks had never been designed to resist cyber attacks from inferior technology. One evening, Mike Turner walked into the command center with a strange device made from an old tractor part and pieces of the alien ship. "Their sensors can't detect it," he said with a grin. "They're looking for energy signatures from advanced tech. This is too primitive for them to notice." The plan was beautiful in its simplicity. While the Dominion expected to face a modern military, they would instead face a ghost army. Billions of dollars worth of military hardware was being hidden, replaced with weapons so old and simple they were invisible to alien scans. "Sir," Doc Wilson called out one day, "you need to see this." He had been studying the Dominion's combat protocols. They've never fought a war where the enemy doesn't use standard military bases. They don't even have protocols for dealing with scattered forces. Anderson smiled. The aliens' arrogance would be their downfall. They saw Earth's lack of advanced space weapons as a sign of military weakness. They didn't understand that humans had been fighting wars since before they invented the wheel. 3 days before the invasion, Earth presented a convincing show of submission. Major governments announced their surrender. Military bases appeared to be preparing for Dominion occupation. Crowds gathered in cities, seemingly ready to welcome their new rulers. "Status report," Anderson demanded, standing in the new underground command center. "All forces are in position," Paul Cooper replied. 90% of military assets have been moved to secondary locations. Civilian evacuation is complete. Resistance cells are armed and waiting." Sam Reed looked up from his communication station. "The Dominion just sent word. They're pleased with our wise decision to surrender. They're moving up their arrival by 1 day to begin the integration process." Anderson nodded. The trap was set. The Dominion would arrive expecting to find a beaten planet ready for conquest. Instead, they would face an enemy that had turned their entire world into one giant guerrilla warfare zone. "Send the final code word to all units," Anderson ordered. "When the Dominion lands tomorrow, they're going to learn that humans wrote the book on asymmetric warfare." The art of deception was complete. Now it was time for the art of war. The Dominion's ships descended from the sky like giant metal mountains, their shadows falling over Earth's major cities. They expected to find crowds of submissive humans waiting to be conquered. Instead, they found empty streets. "All units, hold positions," Anderson whispered into his radio from his hidden command post outside New York. He watched through binoculars as the massive alien ships lowered their landing platforms. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they know what's happening. The aliens followed their standard invasion protocol perfectly. First, they landed their command ships. Then they began unloading their troops and equipment. Their sensors showed no military threats. All Earth's modern weapons and vehicles were hidden in special chambers lined with materials from the captured scout ship. "Look at them," Mike Turner said, watching through his scope. "They're not even in combat formation. They think this is going to be a simple occupation." The first part of Operation Thunderclap was about to begin. Around the world, millions of humans waited in hidden positions. They carried weapons that would have looked familiar to soldiers from World War II, but with a few special modifications designed by Anderson's team. "All units," Anderson said into his radio, "execute Phase 1. The attack began with something so simple it was brilliant. Thousands of small mirrors, positioned on rooftops and in windows, suddenly turned to reflect the morning sun directly at the alien ship's optical sensors. At the same time, old-fashioned radio sets began broadcasting on frequencies that interfered with Dominion communications. The aliens' first warning that something was wrong came when their advanced targeting systems went blind. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, were useless against the focused sunlight that overwhelmed their sensors. "Phase 2, go," Anderson ordered. From sewers, basements, and hidden bunkers, humans emerged with weapons that looked like they belonged in a museum. But these weapons had been modified using knowledge gained from the captured scout ship. Simple bullets had been coated with materials that confused alien armor. Old RPGs had been adjusted to frequencies that slipped through their shields. The Dominion troops, expecting to face either no resistance or modern military forces, were completely unprepared. Their advanced combat training was useless against humans who fought like ghosts, striking from unexpected angles, using the city itself as a weapon. Linda West's voice crackled over the radio. "Sir, their command ship's communications are down. The old-style radio interference is working perfectly. They can't coordinate their forces." The aliens tried to respond with their standard tactics. They attempted to scan for enemy positions, but the humans left no electronic signatures to detect. They tried to target resistance centers, but there were none. Every human fighter was part of a small, independent cell. Doc Wilson's voice came next. "Captain, the EMP devices are in position. Ready on your command." These weren't modern EMPs. They were crude devices made from old microwave parts and modified with alien technology. The Dominion sensors ignored them, seeing them as harmless background radiation. "Light them up," Anderson ordered. Across the city, hundreds of these simple devices activated. The aliens' personal shields flickered and died. Their advanced weapons, dependent on complex electronics, became useless hunks of metal. But the humans' simple, modified weapons kept working. The real chaos began when Paul Cooper and Sam Reed's teams struck. They drove old trucks loaded with fertilizer bombs into the aliens' landing zones. The explosives weren't advanced enough to trigger the ship's threat detection, but they were more than powerful enough to damage landing gear and support equipment. "All units, full attack," Anderson commanded. "Remember your training. Strike and move, just like we practiced." The Dominion forces found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't see or predict. Humans appeared from nowhere, attacked, and vanished into hidden tunnels and buildings. Every time the aliens thought they had found a resistance center to target, they discovered it was already empty. By sunset, the mighty Dominion invasion force was in chaos. Their careful plans had fallen apart in the face of warfare they had never imagined. Their advanced technology, which had conquered countless worlds, was being defeated by humans using tactics and weapons centuries old. Anderson watched as another alien ship tried and failed to coordinate with its ground forces. "Send word to all commands worldwide," he said. "The first battle is ours. But this is just the beginning. Now we show them what human warfare really means." High above Earth, in the Dominion's main command ship, Admiral Krell struggled to understand what was happening. The massive alien leader stared at battle reports from around the planet, his four eyes blinking in confusion. "Impossible," he growled, smashing his fist on the holographic display. "How can primitives who haven't even reached their own moon be defeating our forces?" Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Anderson and his team watched the alien communications through systems they pieced together from the captured scout ship. The Dominion's leaders were having an emergency meeting, and their confusion was clear. "They still don't get it," Linda West said, monitoring the alien transmissions. "They keep trying to find our command centers, our supply lines, our military bases. They can't understand that we don't have any." Anderson nodded. The human strategy was working perfectly. Instead of fighting like a modern army, Earth's forces had broken into thousands of small groups. Each group moved constantly, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. "Look at this," Doc Wilson called out, pointing to his screen. "Their war computers are trying to predict our next moves, but they can't find any pattern because every group is making its own decisions." The Dominion's frustration was growing. Their advanced battle computers, programmed with thousands of years of warfare tactics, couldn't make sense of how humans fought. When they expected humans to defend a position, the humans retreated. When they expected retreat, humans attacked. Mike Turner came running into the command center with new intelligence. "Sir, you won't believe this. The aliens just landed a huge force to secure New Delhi. But when they arrived, they found the city's defenders using elephants. Actual elephants, to move supplies and weapons." Anderson couldn't help but smile. Across the world, humans were using their planet itself as a weapon. In the Amazon, resistance fighters moved through trees above alien patrols. In Siberia, forces used the cold to freeze alien equipment. In the Sahara, sandstorms destroyed their sensitive sensors. Their biggest problem, Anderson explained to his team, is that they think warfare follows rules. They've fought so many advanced civilizations that they've forgotten the basics. The proof of this came when Sam Reed reported in from his observation post. "Captain, the aliens just made a huge mistake. They're gathering their forces into large groups, trying to control major population centers. But the centers are empty. We're hitting them from the countryside instead." Paul Cooper added another piece of good news. "Sir, our modified civilian drones are working perfectly. The aliens ignore them because they're too primitive to register as threats. But they're perfect for reconnaissance." The Dominion's battle doctrine was falling apart. Their ships, designed to fight high-tech battles in space, were useless against an enemy that used underground tunnels and old radio signals. Their troops, trained to fight organized armies, couldn't handle guerrilla fighters who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. "Sir," Linda called out suddenly, "you need to hear this transmission from their command ship." Anderson listened as Admiral Krell's angry voice filled the room. "How are they doing this? We control the skies. We have superior weapons. Why can't we defeat them?" Another alien voice responded. "Sir, we've lost contact with 60% of our ground forces. They're being attacked by weapons we can't detect. The humans are using their own infrastructure against us. Sewers, subway tunnels, old buildings. Our sensors can't track them." Anderson turned to his team. "They're learning, but too slowly. Their entire military is built around fighting enemies who think like they do. They never considered that their advanced technology might be a weakness, not a strength." Doc Wilson looked up from his computer. "Captain, our next phase is ready. The Dominion ships use automated systems to detect threats. But these systems only look for advanced weapons. They completely ignore anything that seems primitive. Anderson nodded. Perfect. Send the order to all units. It's time to show the Dominion another lesson in human warfare. Let's teach them why assuming your enemy is primitive is the biggest mistake you can make in war. As night fell, the aliens continued searching for an enemy they couldn't understand, fighting a war unlike any they'd seen in thousands of years of conquest. And humanity was just getting started. 2 weeks into the war, Captain Anderson stood in a hidden underground factory, watching as humans began changing the rules of the game again. Engineers had taken parts from destroyed alien ships and combined them with Earth technology in ways the Dominion never imagined possible. "It's ready for testing, sir," Mike Turner said, pointing to what looked like an ordinary truck. But this vehicle was different. It had an alien shield generator powered by car batteries and modified using Earth electronics. They won't expect their own technology to be used like this. The humans had learned fast. Every destroyed alien ship and captured piece of equipment taught them more about Dominion technology. But instead of just copying it, they were doing something the aliens never expected. They were making it simpler and better. Linda West rushed into the factory, holding a tablet connected to their alien communication intercepts. "Captain, you need to see this. Other species in the Dominion are watching us. They've never seen anyone fight back like this." Anderson looked at the intercepted messages. Worlds that had surrendered to the Dominion years ago were secretly cheering for Earth. Some were even beginning to question their ruler's power. "Sir," Doc Wilson called from his workstation, "the new weapon is ready for field testing." The weapon looked like junk, old cell phones and radio parts, mixed with pieces of alien tech. But when activated, it did something amazing. It copied the signal patterns of Dominion ships, making small human groups appear as large alien forces on their sensors. "Time to launch Operation Ghost Fleet," Anderson announced to his team. "Let's show them what happens when humans really start fighting back." Around the world, the plan went into action. Thousands of human fighters, using modified alien shields and simple weapons, began striking Dominion forces from all directions. The aliens couldn't tell which signals were real and which were fake. Paul Cooper's voice crackled over the radio. "Sir, the decoy signals are working. Their ships are firing at empty locations, while our real forces slip right past their defenses." The Dominion's response was exactly what Anderson had predicted. They tried to adapt their tactics, but their rigid military structure slowed them down. Every change in strategy had to be approved by commanders who didn't understand what they were fighting. Sam Reed reported from his observation post, "Captain, their ground forces are in complete chaos. They can't tell which human signatures are real anymore. Every time they think they found our troops, they're attacking shadows." The real breakthrough came when a small team of human scientists figured out how to hack into the Dominion's fleet communication system. They didn't try to break the complex encryption. Instead, they found a simple way to overload it with junk data. "Watch this," Linda said, pressing a button on her console. Across the battlefield, Dominion ships suddenly lost contact with each other. Their perfect formation fell apart as each commander tried to fight alone. Anderson smiled as he watched the alien fleet's confusion on the big screen. They still don't understand. They think technology alone wins wars. They forgot that the best weapons are useless if you don't know how to adapt. The next phase of the attack began at sunset. Human forces, now protected by stolen and modified alien shields, launched coordinated strikes worldwide. They used their fake signal generators to make it seem like Earth had somehow built hundreds of alien-level ships overnight. Dominion forces are retreating in 20 major cities, Doc reported, reading from his screen. They can't tell which threats are real anymore. Their entire battle strategy is falling apart. The turning point came when 3 Dominion ships suddenly changed their identification signals. Their commanders had seen enough. They were switching sides. "Sir," Linda called out excitedly, "the defecting ships are broadcasting on all frequencies. They're telling their fleet that they've been wrong about humans. They're saying we're not primitives. We're the most dangerous species they've ever faced. Anderson gathered his team around the command table. This is just the beginning, he said. Now that we understand their technology, we can really start fighting back. Send word to all commands. Operation Ghost Fleet is a success. Begin Phase 2 of the counterattack. Across Earth, humans prepared for the next stage of the war. They had done more than just survive. They had shown the galaxy that sometimes the best way to beat advanced technology was to think differently about how to use it. 1 month into the war, the Dominion faced something they'd never seen before. Their advanced technology was being beaten by what they had called primitive human innovations. In his underground command center, Captain Anderson watched as another alien ship fell to Earth's newest weapons. They still don't understand what they're seeing, Mike Turner said, pointing to a screen showing their latest creation. It looked like a simple farm tractor, but inside it carried a combination of Earth electronics and modified alien technology that could shut down Dominion ships. That's because they're looking for advanced weapons, Anderson replied. They never expect something that looks like farming equipment to be dangerous. The humans' latest breakthrough came from Linda West's team. They had discovered how to combine old car radios with pieces of alien communication devices. The result was a system that could tap into Dominion networks while being completely invisible to their scans. Captain, you need to see this. Doc Wilson called out. He was monitoring a test of their newest invention, regular construction equipment modified with alien shield technology. The workers just used a modified bulldozer to push right through Dominion defenses. The aliens don't know how to react. Around the world, humans were creating combinations of technology that the Dominion had never imagined possible. They took simple Earth machines and added alien tech in ways that confused and disrupted the invaders' carefully planned strategies. Sir, Paul Cooper reported, the kitchen microwave bombs are working perfectly. The aliens can't detect them because they're too simple, but when combined with that bit of their shield technology we copied, they're devastating to their ships. Sam Reed rushed in with more news. Captain, you won't believe what the Australian team just did. They modified some old mining equipment with alien power cells. They're using it to dig tunnels right under Dominion positions. Their sensors can't detect the machines because they read as normal Earth equipment. The aliens' biggest problem was their own arrogance. They had never imagined that humans would be able to understand their technology, let alone improve it. But humans had been adapting and improving technology for thousands of years. It was what they did best. Look at this, Linda said, showing Anderson a new report. Some of the Dominion engineers are actually impressed. They'd never seen anyone use their technology this way. One of their scientists called it beautifully primitive. He meant it as an insult, but he's actually right. The next phase of humanity's plan was even more creative. Anderson's team had figured out how to use old video game controllers to operate captured alien weapons. The simple controls were actually better than the Dominion's complex systems, allowing human fighters to react faster in battle. The best part, Mike explained, showing a group of new recruits how to use the modified weapons, is that they keep trying to hack what they think are advanced control systems. They don't realize we're using technology so basic it can't be hacked. Another breakthrough came when Doc discovered that old cell phone networks, modified with a few alien parts, could create a communication system that was completely invisible to Dominion scanning. They're looking for quantum signals and subspace transmissions, he explained. They never think to check regular radio waves. The turning point of the day came when Anderson's team launched their boldest plan yet. They had taken old weather balloons, added some alien power sources, and created a fleet of high-altitude platforms that disrupted Dominion ship formations. It's beautiful, Linda said, watching the alien ships try to target the balloons. Their weapons are programmed to hit advanced threats. These look so simple that their targeting computers ignore them completely. Anderson gathered his team for their next briefing. The Dominion made one fundamental mistake, he told them. They thought that advanced technology meant better technology. They forgot that the best solution is often the simplest one. As night fell, more reports came in of human victories using their hybrid technology. The Dominion's mighty fleet, which had conquered countless advanced civilizations, was being defeated by humans using equipment that looked like it belonged in a junkyard. "Send word to all commands," Anderson ordered. "Begin Operation Hybrid Dawn. It's time to show the Dominion that sometimes the most powerful weapons are the ones they don't even recognize as weapons." The final battle for Earth began at dawn. After 2 months of fighting, the Dominion had finally realized they were losing to what they had considered a primitive species. Their response was to gather their entire remaining fleet for one massive attack. Captain Anderson stood in the command center, watching as thousands of alien ships filled Earth's skies. To anyone else, it might have looked like the end, but he was smiling. "They're doing exactly what we wanted," he said to his team. They put all their eggs in one basket. Linda West monitored the alien communications from her station. "Sir, they're broadcasting their final demand for surrender. Admiral Krell says this is our last chance to submit to Dominion rule." Anderson picked up his radio, but not to surrender. "All units, Operation Final Surprise is go. Show them everything we've learned." Around the world, humanity's forces put their final plan into action. Everything they had learned about fighting the Dominion, every trick they had developed, would be used at once. "First wave, launch," Mike Turner called out. Thousands of modified weather balloons rose into the sky, each carrying simple electromagnetic pulse devices made from microwave parts and alien technology. The Dominion ships ignored them, their sensors showing nothing but harmless civilian equipment. "Second wave, now," Doc Wilson commanded. From oceans worldwide, submarines launched clouds of metal chaff, simple strips of aluminum that looked like space junk to alien sensors. But these strips carried tiny pieces of reprogrammed Dominion shield technology, creating a web of disruption fields. Paul Cooper's voice crackled over the radio. "Sir, the Farm Equipment Brigade is in position." Across every continent, what looked like ordinary tractors and harvesting machines rolled out. Each had been modified with captured alien tech, turning them into weapons that the Dominion's targeting systems couldn't recognize. "They're starting to realize something's wrong," Sam Reed reported from his observation post. "But they can't figure out what's happening. Their sensors are showing thousands of conflicting readings." The real chaos began when Linda activated their secret weapon, the worldwide network of modified cell phone towers. Each tower now broadcast signals that made the aliens' advanced communication systems crash. "Admiral Krell is ordering his ships to fire on major cities," Linda reported, listening to the alien commands. "But they can't get a clear lock. Our decoys are working." Anderson nodded. "Now, show them how humans end a war. Launch Operation Blackout." Around the world, millions of simple devices activated at once. Old radios reprogrammed with alien code, car batteries connected to pieces of Dominion shield generators, television antennas modified to broadcast signals that scrambled alien targeting systems. The mighty Dominion fleet found itself fighting blind. Their advanced weapons couldn't lock onto targets. Their shields were being disrupted by technology so simple it wasn't even registered as a threat. Their perfect formation fell apart as ships lost contact with each other. "Sir," Doc shouted excitedly, "the virus we uploaded through their own communication network is working. Their main computer systems are crashing." The virus was Anderson's masterpiece, a program so basic that it looked like background noise to alien security systems. But when it activated, it showed every Dominion ship the truth about their leaders' lies. "They're seeing it all," Linda reported. "The footage of how their leaders tricked them. The proof that humans aren't primitive. The evidence of other species being enslaved through deception." More and more Dominion ships began powering down their weapons. The truth spread through their fleet like wildfire. They had been lied to, sent to conquer a species that was far more capable than they had been told. Admiral Krell's final transmission echoed through the command center. by the ancient laws of the Dominion. We admit defeat. Humanity has proven itself not just our equal, but in many ways our superior. Anderson gathered his team around him as cheers erupted worldwide. Send the message to all commands, he ordered. The war is over. Earth is free. Earth's victory became legend across the galaxy. The story of how a primitive species defeated the mighty Dominion using creativity, adaptability, and the power of simple solutions would be told for generations. The humans had taught the galaxy a lesson. True strength isn't about having the most advanced technology. It's about having the wisdom and creativity to use whatever tools you have in ways your enemy never expects.